It's much better and it's much easier to plan to spend money than to ask for it. Because honestly, when you say, hey, I need something, and the answer is there's no church budget, that's a lie. There is a church budget. There's just no budget for you. So we're going to talk about how to release some church funds, be a good steward of your money, and get the equipment you need for your media ministry, for your church. This works for any ministry, really, what we're talking about today. So you can do more ministry and reach more people with the equipment you need. What's going on, everybody? My name is Justin Nava. I am part of Church Media Guys, part of Church Training Academy. We teach you how to use technology to amplify your message and change more lives with technology. With me is my partner and the founder of Church Training Academy, Dave Curley. Dave, how is it going with you today, sir?
Good, with the exception of a little internet hiccup. Good.
That's okay, because in a few hours, we're going to trim all that out, and it'll just look fantastic. Wherever you're watching, if you're watching on eCam's YouTube channel or the Church Media Guys YouTube channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Follow us and like us on Facebook as well. Wherever you're watching, we want to make sure you get lots of information that you can execute and implement and change more lives for your church. Question of the day before we get started, I want to ask, put this in the chat so we know kind of where you're at. Have you ever made a budget before? Have you made a budget for your ministry? Have you made a budget for your church? Have you even made a personal budget? Because I like to say this, Dave, I'll say it again. I think I said it in the intro. It's easier to plan to spend money than to ask for it. Would you agree?
Right. Yes, I agree. Because if you plan, you basically can start having the justification and the reason and stuff. So you get it all planned and stuff. And then the asking part, gets hard, but it's a lot easier than, because, does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and when you do budget, right now it's August, and when you do budget ahead of time, it's really I liken it right now, Dave. Me and my family, we're shopping for a home, and we have a lot of options in front of us, but we know about what we can afford, what we can go up to, what we'd like to save to get that house. It's a lot easier to plan and spend a few months finding a home and knowing what we're going to pay going forward, to plan that out of our budget, out of our bills every month, than the landlord from renting from just to come and say, hey, by the way, $200, we need an extra $200 every month on rent. And you're like, whoa, I'm going to fight that with every tooth and nail and tell the landlord I don't have that money. It's not worth that much. I'm going to come back with a bunch of objections not to do that. Whereas that's how I see the budget. We're kind of planning ahead for the mortgage payment versus having to be asked for this rent money. I'm going to fight it tooth and nail because that is unplanned money. That is money that I did not have designated to spend. So if that made any sense, it's easier to plan money than to just ask for it. Plus, when you actually do a budget, you'll actually see what it takes to run your ministry, much like when you do a personal budget. You'll see exactly where all your money goes. How much do you spend on groceries? How much do you spend on entertainment? How much do you spend on utilities? Maybe you need to start turning off more lights. You'll see exactly where your money goes. And the benefits of having a ministry budget is the same as having a personal budget. And, you just get to do more research on how you can get that price down and all that stuff. Before we get started on that, I want to let you guys know we are streaming with eCam today. You go to getecam.com right here, tattooed on my forehead. Go to getecam.com. That'll tell eCam that the Church Media Guy sent you. If you like the streaming software, if you need something easy, something that the back end, the administration is pretty much done for you, all you have to do is go live. You can go live to restream and multicast. You can have different, let's just say, for example, I don't like this Get eCam on my forehead. Let me just move it down. Boom, there it is. We're good, right? It's that easy, and I can make it say whatever I want. I love eCam. I use it pretty much in all of my live streamings. We're using it to run the Stream Your Church show. So we're very excited to partner with eCam and have a platform to reach more people that maybe haven't found us, but follow eCam for live streaming tips and techniques if you're part of a church. Although if you're part of any business, today's stuff will work for you as well. Dave, it's August. Is it too early to start planning 2021 budget?
No, I've actually been working with our team on some of that stuff for a whole bunch of stuff. It gets scary. It gets scary when you start, when you're told, thankfully, I was told by our executive leadership, hey, just throw it all in there, and then we can, if we need to pull back, we can scale accordingly. So that's really exciting. But as I watch the number go up, that does get kind of scary.
It kind of does, but it makes you realize what it really takes to run a ministry and run it properly.
Yeah, there's a lot of
We,
moving parts in any given church, and if
yes.
depending on the size of your church, I mean, our church, pre-COVID, I mean, we regularly had 500 ish, any given Sunday. Between online and live now, we have about 300 ish, 350 or so. But when you take a look at our building and our overhead and stuff like that, you find out that we got $1 million a year budget. It's like that's a gigantic number for a small church. So I mean, imagine if you got 800, or if you've got 11 staff members or something like that. I mean, there's a ton, and the ministries that you support, and the infrastructure, and got to fix the roof, and all kinds of different things like that all go into it. I mean, doing this, even for you and I, Justin, who work more in the media and marketing areas of our churches, dealing with our smaller budgets and stuff can get kind of harrowing, or make you feel really uncertain and stuff. But when you take a look at where that fits in the budget of a church at large and stuff, it's mind-boggling.
100%. The first thing you need, we talked about this on our podcast, on our show last week. The first thing you should do is just ask your receptionist or your administrator, or pastor if you don't have any of those, what's our annual church budget? You'll be surprised. Once you get to a size of around 250, 300, you're going to have an annual budget of about $1 million. Okay. That's how much it takes to run a building, especially if you have a larger building, utilities, staff salaries, anything like that. You're going to be upwards towards that. Once you realize that asking for $20,000 a year is really not that much, even though it would be a lot for us, right? A $20,000 raise. Are you kidding me? I would take that in a heartbeat. But when you're working with that, and especially even if you're at a smaller church, if you're at a 100-member congregation, you might be running $250,000 to $500,000 a year. Again, you're asking for a smaller portion of that, $5,000 or $10,000. You're not even asking for 10%, but your ministry impacts so many people. So let's get into how to make your first budget. This is, again, budget friendly for just about anyone. If you want to get into specific media stuff, the Church Media Guys show yesterday, how to plan your 2021 media budget. We talk about software, services, subscriptions, hardwares, computers, internet. We talk about all the media specific stuff you should plan for in next year's budget. Today, we're taking a step back. We're talking mostly about how to plan a general church budget, and this will be usable every year. So the first thing you want to do, if you've never made a budget before, first thing you need to do, find out where you exist as a ministry in the budget. You're either going to have your own budget line item. Church, we have $1 million for the year. The media ministry or the IT and media, usually it's bundled together if you haven't done anything separate. It's usually bundled together. They say we have $15,000 that pays for our internet, computers, repairs, all that stuff. Find out if you have your own line budget, or do you come out of someone else's budget? Is the youth ministry budget paying for IT stuff? Is the kids ministry, are we siphoning tools from that? Worst case, sometimes you have the pastoral line budget. Hey, pastor, you have $10,000 a year to go out and take people out to lunch, to buy upgrades that you need for the pulpit, whatever. Sometimes your money comes out of, your spending comes out of that budget. And that's where it gets really tough too, because that really does become a little bit of a zero-sum game we want to avoid, where, yeah, if you buy new headphones, that's one less person pastor can take out to lunch because you're taking up his line item budget. So right. You need to figure out if you have your own line item. And if not, you need to get your own line item budget. Once you have your own section of the budget, any addition for you is not subtraction for anyone. No one is saying we're going to take $5,000 from the kids ministry and give it to the media ministry. It doesn't work like that in budgeting. You need to find out where you are, and then try to get your own line item budget. Which means, step number 2, you have to speak to who runs your budget or who approves it. I was very surprised when I came on as the IT media director for my first church. We had our own line item budget. No one told me about it. Okay. This is kind of like, I didn't know where our money was coming from. I just asked our admin assistant, hey, can I buy this? And she would, in the background, check, okay, where does this at? And what does this impact our P&L and all that stuff? And tell me if I could or not. Then finally, the pastor was like, hey, you need to make your own budget. Okay. Time to put your own big boy pants on. And I was like, yes, please. Okay. So find out who runs your budget. If your money comes out of someone else's line item, then you need to go talk to them and figure out either how to get you on your own, how much you're spending, all that good stuff. You need to do an audit of what you're spending, which we'll get to in a second. But make sure too, whoever's either you're sharing a budget with or whoever's overseeing your budget, like a financial committee, a CFO, anyone like that, even sometimes it's the receptionist, and that's fine. Make sure that they understand your ministry, that they're on board with it. And you want to be sure that when you do this, don't preach how important your ministry is. You want them to conclude how important your ministry is. This is the difference between teaching and consulting. You want to consult with them. Say, hey, have I ever shared with you how many people are involved in our live stream ministry? Have I ever shared with you what kind of makes it run? Because the money's coming out of your stuff, and I want you to know exactly where it's going. Can I show that for you? People will believe what they conclude. They will resist what they're told. So don't go into the office or on the phone and say, hey, we're so important. Give us more money. You need to consult with them. You need to take patience, and you need to guide them along that way. And then next, you're going to need to audit what you spend now. Dave, do you have anything before we get into auditing as far as those first couple steps to add?
When it comes to getting your line item, a lot of times what I've seen is that the media ministry or the sound/video ministry or whatever, the stuff that's happening in the booth in the back and the line item for that is the worship ministry or the music ministry or something like that. And what you want to do, in my opinion, is break off of that because buying music for a Christmas program is not necessarily in the same vein as getting some par lights for the stage and getting a new camera. You know what I'm saying? And so if you can break that out where we got our worship ministry, which is things that support the live experience in the room, and then we have our media ministry, which is things that complement the live, that can help you so that you're not, well, we can't get that song because we bought a new camera. It's like, no, we have these things. And it's weird because you do think of it as a zero-sum game, but what I've learned over the years is that when it comes to the budget and stuff, you just need to put these things in. And a lot of times churches have things in their budget that have been there for 30 years, and that money is just basically sits there and gets carried over because they just kind of gloss over it. And you realize that, we don't have a scholarship for children's camp anymore because we're not doing children's camp anymore. We're hosting our own children's camp. So we don't send people off to the Baptist encampment every summer. So the money that they keep setting aside for that actually could just get reallocated into something else. So, make sure your budget's current for one thing, but try to get the media ministry and the worship ministry, if nothing else, keep those separate. They will complement each other, but you won't be in a position where you have to rob Peter to pay Paul.
Absolutely. And even within your own line item, it's not just an 18,000. I just keep saying 18,000. That was about my annual budget when I was doing for my first church. It's not just, here's $18,000. No, you actually do designate, okay, 8,000 is for computer replacements and repairs and upgrades. 3,000 is for media room equipment. 4,000 is for internet, whatever it is. Like, so you do have a little bit more definition in there so you can see where everything is going to go. And that way, if the internet bill goes up, you just all of a sudden can't buy a camera. You'll have to figure out something else. So let's go into building your own first budget. And Anita, watching on the eCam channel, said their media ministry does not have a line item. So if you want to talk more about how to get your own line item, that's something we do in our coaching. We won't talk about that today. But the first step you need to do when you're building your first budget, and I cannot stress this enough, the first thing you need to do is audit what you're doing right now. Audit what you spend money on and document all your expenses. It's August. We've had 8 months of this internet bill, 8 months of this software bill, licensing, whatever, or we spent this CCLI license for the year, if that comes out of the tech stuff. Look at all your software, look at all your hardware purchases, look at all your consumables. Some people call these expendables, things like batteries, things that you use and throw away. Look at all your subscriptions, look at your internet bill, look at your office supplies. If if you don't have consumables, maybe you have office supplies. This is where things like, we need a whiteboard we bought a whiteboard for the booth. That counts. Put that in there because you might need something similar next year. And also include continuing education. Did you go to any conferences on your own dollar? Did the church pay for you to go to any conferences? Did you do any training? Did you buy any curriculum? Any online learning? Anything like that? Document everything that you've spent money on. And then if whoever's been running your budget before you or before you stepped in I'm not saying that you're going to run the budget, but you might consult on it. Maybe that might be your first step. Talk to whoever is overseeing the budget line item right now, whether it's your own or someone else's. Talk to them to see if there's anything else that you missed, anything else you did not account for. There's a lot of things that I didn't realize that we were paying for that we didn't even need. We switched. One thing that we did, first thing I did, of course, was move our website. And after we moved our website to a self-hosted platform, I realized we were still spending $30 a month hosting the website that no longer exists, right? And, that was something that came up because I talked to whoever was overseeing the previous budget. So make sure you audit everything you're doing right now and just keep a list and figure out what you're spending money on. Is there anything else, Dave, that I missed on what you might be spending money on?
No, however, you really kind of got to think outside the box because you may realize that you may be spending money in areas that you don't really realize, if that makes sense. Doing that auditing. One thing that I've seen, I've actually seen at our church is that 6 years ago under a different administration, we signed up for this service or that service, and in the last 4 years, we haven't used that service because it's been replaced with, something built in maybe to some software that we're using or something like that. But, we're still paying, $100 a year or $300 a year or something like that. So, you may need to really, really dig. You may need to go back through budgets, several years back, or, if you have like records of things like that, check old emails and do stuff like that to find out, did we sign up for something, especially if you've had administrative changes and things like that. You may want to dig a little bit deeper because things can catch you off guard.
100%. So let's get into next year. What do you do? Where do you start? How do you get there? First, speaking of next year, I want to make sure you're aware. Again, tattooed on my forehead. Let me get that out of the way a second. What I want you to do is go to get your free ticket to the church marketing conference, churchtrainingacademy.com/free ticket. That's our special referral link. If you go there, you will get, you're going to sign up for the conference at the end of September. They've got hours of presentations about how to better market your church, better communicate with your community, make more people aware so you can compel more people to come and join your church. And this is not your typical online summit that we're seeing where they just kind of broadcast some videos and it's up to you to watch it and take your own notes and then go execute, maybe buy the video so you can watch them again. But I really like what Ryan and the Church Marketing Conference is doing right now. As part of your ticket, you get access to the conference online at the end of September 29th and 30th. You also get a workbook that you can follow along, and every speaker is going to build upon what's already been taught. And by the end of the conference, you're going to have a 12-month marketing plan for your church built for you, guided by the wisdom of these excellent influencers in the space that have been in church ministries from small to big and consulted with people just like we do. It's going to be a really good conference. I'm going to be there. Go to churchtrainingacademy.com/free ticket. If you email your confirmation email to us, hello@churchtrainingacademy.com, you have until Friday midnight. I'm going to give you our volunteer course for free. I'm putting the final touches on it today and tomorrow, and then I'm going to send you the videos. It's going to be $50 or $100 next month when we release it to the public. You're going to get it for free if you just get your ticket through our link, churchtrainingacademy.com/free ticket. So it's free on free, stacks on stacks of free stuff. You're going to really enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to it as well. Dave, let's talk about next year.
Okay.
So the first thing I would do is take everything we've done, everything we've audited, and first check if the price is going to go up next year.
Yeah.
Prepare for price increases and replacements. The last thing you want to do is realize that your cable contract is going to go up in March, and then it's going to go up $50, and now you got to figure out where that money's going to come from. You got to budget for that, or be prepared to haggle with that, maybe re-sign or release through the cable company earlier, or just see, I think we'll talk about it a little bit later, but if there is an upgrade, go ahead and budget for that upgrade. So when your contract's up, you are prepared to pay for faster internet. Also, enhanced features, a higher price plan, anything like that. Take what you spend now and just make sure the prices are going to stay the same for next year. That's always a thing that gets people is software upgrades or contracts go out, prices go up, and you're in a load of trouble.
Just real quick, just parenthetical. You mentioned your internet service. As you're setting up the budget for this year or for next year and stuff, might be a good time to go ahead and audit your internet service and find out, hey, can we got the business plan? Can I make a change here? Can I pay the same amount of money and get on a plan that has a whole lot more capacity? That happens a lot with your internet providers and stuff. So dig into that. It's just if you do these, it's kind of like when you roll your clocks forward and when you roll your clocks back, you always change out the batteries of your I want to say fire extinguishers, not those. The beep 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 things. When the fire alarm.
Fire detector, smoke detector.
Smoke detectors. There you go. Yeah. If you just start saying a bunch of words,
it takes two minds, Grandpa.
I know. Yes. So smoke detectors. So same thing. We start to set down and do your budget and stuff. Contact your cable company and get with them and just see as well. Close parentheses. You may proceed. So
close parentheses. So that's an easy step, but don't neglect it. It's a very easy step, but go ahead and just do a little bit of research. Again, it's August, okay? Most of the time, budgets are due in September or October, especially if you're in a committee-led or church-led congregation, which is most churches I've worked with. They have to get they have to get your supervisor to sign off on it, which then goes to the committee, which they have to review, and then they have to talk to you if they have to make any cuts, which we're going to talk about in a second. Then they have to approve it, and then it goes to the church body. All this has to happen with plenty of space for negotiation, for cuts, for research, for finding alternative ways to pay for it. All that good stuff has to happen. So August is the time you need to start planning for this, because oftentimes the budget comes due in September, October. So if you're not ready, you're not going to do all this within even a week. So you need to get started now. So now I'm going to tell you the secret sauce. This was given to me, and I can't take credit for this. This was given to me by my lead pastor, who was a former accountant. He's got that weird story where he's like, I was an accountant and I used to enjoy just being in the shadows, being in my room, not talking to anyone. And then, he got like with everything else, God called him out. And now if you met him, you'd be like, I don't believe that you used to be an introvert. But this comes from a pastor who knows how to deal with budgets and knows how to get what he needs for his ministry while still being responsible and what we would call a good steward. So what you want to do, the secret sauce here, what you want to do, and this is going to be in secret, not because it's bad, but because you have to make sure you control the message, is you're going to prepare 3 budgets. Okay. This is only for you, and you're only going to prepare 3 budgets. No one else is going to see any of these 3 budgets except for you. Okay. Well, they'll see one, but we'll get to that in a second. What you're going to do is you're going to make 3 different budgets. One is minimum viable. This means this is the bare minimum you need to get by with your ministry. The bare minimum. Okay. Oftentimes it's just more of what you're already doing. Okay. Number 2, you're going to make another budget, more expensive, and you're going to put in some tools, upgrades, equipment, stuff that you need. Okay. I know our camera works. We can continue using our camera, but we need a better one. We really do. We can't zoom in. We don't get good audio through it. We need a USB audio interface into our computer. We need to get off OBS and use something like Ecamm or vMix. We need something like this. Put this together as your what you need proposal. Mm-hmm. Then you're going to make a 3rd proposal. This is the what you want proposal. This is a little bit more expensive, a little bit, not a lot. Don't go crazy with a $3,000 budget and then you put it together a proposal for $20,000. They're not going to take you seriously and you're going to get out of the negotiation talks. Put together a what you want, okay? Maybe instead of going from a Canon Vixia to an XA45, maybe you go from a Canon Vixia to 2 XA15s, or if you want to, 2 XA45s. Put in there what you want. Me personally, one of the of the budgets I put together that I remember is I wanted 8 TVs around the church that would function as digital signage, and also we could stream the service into the lobbies if we so wanted. This is what I wanted. It was absolutely was not a need. It was a nice to have, but I put it in the budget for this reason. When you ask for a budget, typically 98% of the time, you're going to get cut. They're going to want to bring it down. It's very hard to justify $10,000. It's a little bit easier of a pill to swallow $6,000 or $7,000, especially if this is your first time doing it. Look at it if you're driving. This is what my pastor called it. He said, create a public transportation budget, create a nice mid-sized sedan budget, and then create the Cadillac budget, right? Any one of those is going to get you from A to B. Some of public transportation, it's minimum viable, okay? It's always available, but it's not exactly what you want. You want your own car because it's comfortable. Then you put it together as a mid-range sedan. It's nice, 4 doors, can seat the family, and it gets you where you want to go, but it gets you there nicer, faster, more reliable. Then you get the Cadillac. It's what you'd like to have, and it will make your life a lot better. But it's a nicer way to get from A to B. So what you're going to do, you're going to take these 3 budgets. You're not going to share it with anyone, but you're going to take that Cadillac, or if your midsize sedan, but I suggest you go with the Cadillac and submit that as your budget proposal. So if you have, let's for example, $18,000, what I would do is my minimum viable is probably around 10 or 11. Okay. And most of that's going to go towards internet, a computer that I know is going to break. That's what I need to just survive the rest of the year. And this is IT and media. I know just media, $10,000 would be a huge blessing, but we also had computers in a private school. But I would know that I can go down to that and I could still survive. However, the middle proposal, the what we need, that's what I need to get better and to reach more people and impact more lives. I know we need that. That one's going to be around $16,000, $17,000. The Cadillac would do the same thing, but with an extra camera, with extra TVs, things to make people's lives easier, and a little bit more convenience as well on my end. Maybe some automation software, so I'm saving more time on writing emails or communicating with people. That one might be around $20,000. Then what you do is you take that Cadillac proposal, and that's the one you're going to submit for your 2021 budget, fully knowing that they're going to cut you. Okay, they told me I had 16 or 17,000. What I really want is 18. I'm going to ask for 20, and then when they say this is a little too much, what can we cut? I'm going to cut the Cadillac features. I'm going to cut those TVs. I'm going to cut the fiber internet, but I'm going to still ask for the 300 down, 20 up. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So. Yep. That's what's been taught to me, and especially in churches, this has worked every time. I have never been cut below what I've wanted, because you go in there. I'm sure there's a name for this: asking for more and then backing down for less. A wife told her husband, said, "Hey, what do you think about getting a nose piercing?" And the husband's like, "What? Oh, no. Oh, I would never do that. I would never I would not like my wife to have a nose piercing." And she says, "Okay, well, what do you think about an extra piercing up here on the ear?" Mm-hmm. That's a lot better. That's fine. It's that same thing. That's a true story that happened to someone I know.
That's actually part of the art of the deal. That's one of those things that Trump has used, and people that go into negotiations for whatever is they come in with their outlandish, over the top kind of thing, and then that basically builds in give points for the negotiation. Except in our case, that it's not outlandish. It's not like, if we want to buy your company and we want to only pay $5 for it, versus the 10 million that it's that you're asking for. It's not something outlandish like that, because there's actually reasons behind that Cadillac budget. It's not like you're just throwing a bunch of stuff in there that you can pull out, because you may come into a situation where it's like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. And I think if we talk to a couple more of the people in our church that have come forward and said, hey, if you need extra for certain projects, let us know. We may be able to get this Cadillac thing. So don't be like ridiculously outlandish with it, because you actually may get it, but it is give points.
You may just get it.
I mean, that's so when I was putting together our budget, we were talking about the various things that we want to do, and it was told to me, go ahead and put a drone in there because we're using your drone right now. Now we may only use it a handful of times, and we won't use it for like Sunday service or anything like that. But go ahead and put it in there and put the nice one in there, the one that you really want. Now, if it's like, oh, $35,000, or whatever the number is way too much. Okay, well, here's a give point. I can pull the drone out, and we can continue to use mine. Or I added a lens that I really want for the camera that we shoot all the announcement videos with. Well, it's an expensive lens, so I can pull that out, and I actually have one that's part of my kit, so I can use that this year, but we need to buy it next year. Little things like that are your give points, and that's okay. Another thing, when you're doing this, be sure that you're able to sell them on the reasons why this is. This is great, but if we do this, it's going to be better, is not necessarily the case. You hit them with the idea of the ministry, and Justin and I talk about this all the time. For the media ministry, for the live streaming ministry, for the video production ministry, we have to remember that our audience is not the people that are in the seats during the service. They are the people that are sitting at home staring at their iPhone or watching on Roku or what have you. So we need to make sure that we're trying to service them, and especially in the time of this situation, the pandemic situation that we're in, there is much more focus on reaching the people remotely. So when you say having a better camera, yes, the camera costs 5 times what a $250 Canon Vixia R800 costs. But the reason is because the quality is so much better, which means the people who are watching at home will be able to see much clearer and be able to, because of where we position it, we'll actually be able to get closer and reach them and give them a better viewing experience and keep them engaged with the live stream longer and service them better. Oh, this makes sense. It's like, do you drive to South America for a mission trip and take, a week to drive down there, or do you get down there faster by taking a plane? Well, planes are more expensive. So we're going to take a plane to get down there so that our 2-week mission trip is not only 3 days, because it takes us, 6 days to get there and 6 days back, I
really like the way you put that. So let me wrap the bow on this TV story. So this is just 1 year. I asked for 8 TVs in the budget. That would be the Cadillac. I mean, I really wanted digital signage at the front
nice
of.
Ones you like?
Yeah, the nice ones that I like. The $800 TV. Back then they were $800 with software that I could basically remotely manage the TVs, schedule their on off. I could even schedule the inputs. So I could say at 10:50 you're going to start the countdown. At 11 o'clock you're going to switch over to the Pro Presenter slides, and then at 11:20, 11:30 you're going to switch to the Pastor Cam, and then at 12 o'clock you're going to switch back to slides, and then at 1 o'clock you're going to turn off. They were amazing. I really, really liked them. I think you've got to just invest the money. We'll do another show on digital signage. But anyways, yeah. I asked for 8, 1 for every entrance. That is a lot. I understood that's a lot, but Dave, to your point, like you said, I was ready over the course of the year to put up 8 TVs, and we were talking changing electricals. We had already figured out where we were going to put them all. Then came time for the budget review, and they said, we gotta cut you down a little bit because we're gonna try. Of course, they always say this, and it's usually true. We're trying to save money. We have a smaller budget to work with. We're expecting slower cash flow because of X, Y, and Z. That's fine. So we realized you asked for example, I don't think this was the exact number, $20,000. We need to cut a few thousand out of your budget. I say, okay. How about instead of just going everything to the wall, 8 TVs, why don't we just do a trial and we'll just put up 2 TVs? That way we're going to save whatever 800 times 6 is. That'll save us $2,400. Okay. And then how about instead of this internet plan, we just go 1 tier up instead of 2. I was prepared for those cuts. And what ended up happening was we got those 2 TVs, we put them up, everyone loved them. We ended up buying more TVs the next year, and we made sure that no longer became a Cadillac item. That became we need to have it because everyone got to use it. Additionally, part of that first step that we talked about, Dave, is finding out who runs your budget, who approves it. The woman, the fine woman that was on the finance committee that I had to talk to about my budget, and who was really going to talk to me really about cutting it and saving some money. She knew the importance of what I was doing, but also I knew the importance of what she was doing. And I said, this digital signage, I said, imagine instead of going around and taping paper to the wall, women's ministry, presentation this way, breakout groups this way. I said, imagine if you could just have a TV and I could click a button for you. And on Saturday, the TV turns on. It throws up nice, pink, feminine graphics that says, hey, here's our agenda. Here's our speaker. Here's how to find our ministry information. And then arrows, sanctuary this way, breakout sessions this way. I said, wouldn't that be so cool? And then you don't have to do, all you have to do is just tell me where to put things, and I'll design it. And she was, oh yeah, that is kind of cool. And we got the TVs for that. And that's exactly what we did. We even had special signage that went up during school hours so we could communicate with parents, current events, upcoming events. They were a captured audience, being location aware, being, picking up their kids. So we were able to use it for that as well. Knowing who you're talking to and what's important to them. If your ministry desires the stuff you need a budget for fits into their ministry efforts and makes their lives easier, that's 100% okay. Remind them of that importance. It's not manipulating. It's shedding light to the truth of what you're trying to accomplish. Exactly. Now, we got one more thing to talk about, but I want to make sure you understand this. These 3 budgets you're going to prepare. I used to do this all the time, and I shoot myself all the time. Just shut up. Really, these 3 budgets you're going to share, don't share them with anyone. You cannot go into a budget negotiation, which is what this is, and say, hey guys, I know I gave you $20,000 and you want to cut it. Can you go ahead and just cut it down to this one that I already prepared? Because they're going to cut it down to that one. And you're going to go straight from 20 to 14 or straight from 10 to 6. You have to ask, how much do you want to save? They may want to save on certain line items, and you could still get more than your sedan. You just won't get the Cadillac. So don't share this with anyone. Don't dig yourself a hole, and don't say, we need to cut about 2,000 from what you gave us. Oh, that's fine. I already planned for 4,000. So if you only want to cut 2,000, oh my gosh, Dave, that used to be me. And it bothers me so much when I see other people just run their mouths and get themselves in trouble.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you have a really unhealthy meal for lunch. You come home and your wife is like, hey, honey, how was your day? I was like, oh, it was awesome. I had chicken wings and cheese fries for lunch. We went out, me and Dave went out to get lunch. She's like, what? Don't volunteer that information and get yourself in trouble. Don't lie, but don't dig yourself a grave either. Let's talk about, go ahead, Dave.
I learned that once when we were going to buy a mattress. We had set aside $1,000 to max to spend on the mattress. First thing out of the guy's mouth. So what kind of a price range were you looking for? I said, we don't want to spend over $1,000. Here's one for $995. I was like, okay, you're not here to help us. Have a good day. And I walked out. Wait. No, you're not here to help us. Appreciate it.
He's here to get all the thousands of dollars. That's a whole different thing. I mean, really, budget negotiations and anything is a whole different thing. Let's talk about submitting. You need to submit on time. Again, don't dig yourself a grave and submit too early, where they think, well, he didn't really put a lot of thought into this. He didn't shop around, or he or she didn't find the best price. They're going to look down upon it, your proposal, if you turn it in too early. You want to make sure that you turn it in right on time. Okay. And especially don't turn it in late. This can happen if you wait till a week before to do everything we've told you to. It's going to take some man hours, but if you want money for your ministry, you need to do the work. Okay, so turn it in on time, and also ask what format it needs to be in. This is another mistake I made. They may have a certain format that they want it in. They may want it in a spreadsheet. They may want it in a Word document. They may want it in a certain template. This is very easy. Just ask for help. Don't try to figure it out yourself. Don't be like Jim. What was the episode of The Office with the rundown? Charles come to Jim and he's like, "Hey, you got that rundown for me?" And he's like, "What's a rundown?" And he's talking to everybody else, Don't be Jim. Just ask, hey, I got the money, I got the numbers ready, but what format? Do you have a template? Can you send me yours? And I'll just fill in my information. You want to make sure it's in the best template or format possible. And then make sure that you, if you can, If you have someone that's a direct supervisor that maybe your budget comes out of theirs, schedule a time with them to discuss what's in your budget. Okay. This is especially important if you're sharing your line item with the youth ministry, with the administrative costs, with the pastor's discretionary fund. You want to make sure you meet with them first and all the ducks in a row, and you're not competing for money because you may have to do some mini negotiation with them before you're going to the financial committee. And then be prepared, like I talked about, be prepared for cuts. Be prepared to explain why you're choosing something. If you're going to put a proposal in for 2 XA45s, you have to be prepared to answer why 2. And you have to be prepared to answer, really, especially in technical stuff, why are you asking for this $1,500 camera when Walmart has one for $200? You do this a lot with computers. I hate buying computers, because especially for schools and stuff, because I got to turn in, hey, here's 8 computers. Each one's going to be $500 or $600 because I want ThinkPads, maybe even $800. And they're going to look at it and say, I can buy an Acer at Walmart for $250. Why do I need to buy this $600? You have to be prepared to explain. And it can't be because the nicer computers are easier to admin. It'll make my life easier. Okay. Why would it make the teachers' lives easier? Why would 2 cameras make your live streamers easier? Why would 2 cameras amplify the message and spread the gospel and change lives? That is what you have to be prepared to answer. And the last thing I'll leave you with is confidence. You have to be confident that you chose the right products for the right people in your church. You have to be confident. You can't just say, oh, I picked what I think is the best one. But if you want to do some more research, we can do that. Or if you think that's too much, oh boy. Confidence. And I'm not talking about just machismo, puff up your chest. I want to spend $18,000. Don't do that. Confidence. Just be confident in the decisions you make. And that part is actually the easiest if you do everything we've discussed. Dave, any final thoughts?
No, I like that, the confidence thing. And you know, me being in this industry and playing with all the stuff and doing all that, I still have the hard time because I want to make sure that I'm making the right buying decision. That just to help you with that, if you think that you've chosen something, like I'm actually looking at getting a couple of the Panasonic, was it the X1500B camcorders? You know, they're like the XA series from Canon. I have not played with those, but from the research I've done, they seem to be great. Well, they're $1,700 cameras, so I'm going to budget for, let's say, $1,900 or something like that, just in case when the time comes, I find out something and it's like, you know what? If I get this one from JVC, which is only $100 more, I actually get much more bang for my buck in the camera. Okay, well, I've got a little cushion. You know what? This one is not actually as good. I can actually save a little bit of money because the Canon, as it turns out, that is $100 less, is going to be just as good, or actually will outperform in low light or something like that. You build in some of that time for you to make that final decision, because it's not like you hand in your budget and then you go and check out with your shopping cart at Amazon, you know. So pad a little bit, add a little bit extra in there, because especially in this world, the prices are not always going to be exactly the same. Amazon's running a deal and you can get this camera for $249. You know, okay, great. I mean, didn't you guys all try to buy capture cards back, say on March 29th? Buying capture cards that were costing, you know, $115. Yes, literally $115 for like a Black Magic. You know, all of a sudden get up to $500. Okay, so if you build in a little cushion in there, you have some of that extra space. You don't have to go back and say, oh, I need a little more money. It's already there.
Do not budget sales prices. Put the full on MSRP and be the hero when you do find it on sale.
And
that's
you
a
know,
huge one.
And see, that's the thing. That's when we talk about when you did the little story about, hey, what about a nose ring? You know, that whole idea, that whole art of the deal kind of thing. If you've ever watched Star Trek, one of the things that I remember learning from Star Trek, Scotty did this all the time. Why was Scotty such a magnificent, wonderful engineer? Was he like the brainiest guy in the entire Starfleet? Is he the only one who knew how to do all sorts of stuff like that? No, there's a whole bunch of those guys out there. But he made himself have a little more cachet, a little more posture by under promising and over delivering. So we need these engines up back online. We're going to die if we don't have it done in, like in 6 hours. Sir, it's going to take us about 7 hours to do it. Okay, anything you can do, great. Okay, and he got it done in 4 because he knew it would take 4. He said he would take 7, and he got it done in 4 or 4.5. Well, he still saved the day and was a miracle worker. So same thing with your budgeting. Pad to the high side. Don't pad to the low side.
One more hack for you today. I'm gonna throw this in here. This whole process does not end when your supervisor or even the financial committee approves it. Oftentimes there is a church vote. What you can do and what you should do, and this is harder for introverts, I understand, but coming from a fellow introvert, it's worth it. You need to speak with key leaders, key ministry leaders, even just people that are loud in the church that people look up to, someone that's been there for a few decades, maybe one of the founders if you're a younger church. You need to speak with them and make sure that they understand the importance of your ministry. Make sure that whoever's presenting the proposal to the church, if you're going to do a church vote, understands the importance of your ministry, because the last thing you want to do is you don't want Mr. Joe to stand up at the budget proposal annual approval meeting and say, "Why, Administrator Tom, why are we spending $18,000 on media stuff? That could feed a lot of people. Why are we spending money that can put a lot of stuff into other ministries? Why are we?" And then Administrator Tom or whoever is running the meeting has to try to explain why. Make sure they understand why, and make sure that they understand, kind of the thing about that. But also, you can avoid that entire situation if you got with Elder Joe and said, "Hey, Joe, I noticed your wife watched the live stream last week when she was sick. I bet she was, did she appreciate it? Did she say anything about it? Did she have any notes? Is there anything we can do better? Did you see that, so-and-so had talked about this ministry on the live stream? Can I give them your information and I send them a message to call you?" When they see that stuff happening, they're going to look at that $18,000 in the budget and say, "That's great. Let's do it." Or, God willing, they say, "Why isn't there more? I want to see more of this happening with these kids getting involved in the technology and more people coming in because of the website. Like, what do we need to do to get more of that?" Talk to those elders, talk to those deacons, talk to the people that have a large voice, because oftentimes, too, the sad truth is in those budget meetings, people will not vote what they think. They'll vote with those influencers in your church. They'll vote with those influential people. So make sure that they are on board with you, and you're not going to manipulate, and you may not even win all the battles, but just make a relationship, make a connection, make sure that they understand, or that you've at least imparted upon them the importance of what you're doing. You're not even going to have that situation. They're going to have your back as well. As with anything we do, it's not just enough to learn. You have to execute. Watch this again. Take notes. Follow these steps. You're going to have a budget next year. And instead of begging for money, you're just going to say, "Hey, remember those cameras we planned to buy? Now is the time to buy them. How do we do that? How do we make that happen?" It's easier to plan for money than to ask for it. It's easier to plan it than to beg for it. Take everything you've learned today and go change lives.